happened to you? I ain't trying to be rude. I'm just saying, like, wow, you hurt.
Good evening and welcome to Pot School. I'm your host, Edward Neal Chastain II, aka Special Ed. You can find us on Pot School at Facebook. You can find us on Google+. We can be found on YouTube. And right now, streaming live on Comcast Cable, Channel 56. You can find us at Denver Open Media. On with our show. I'd like to talk to you about the history of marijuana and cannabis, and I'd also like to bring you up to date with everything going on with it, as well as we're going to do a short segment of letting you know how to plant dirt, the types of dirt you want to use, and what you're going to need for it. So let's get started. In 2900 BC, Chinese Emperor Fu Hish referenced marijuana as a popular medicine, whom Chinese credit with bringing the civilization to China. He seems to have made a reference to the mai, the Chinese word for cannabis, noting that cannabis was very popular medicine that possessed both yin and yang. In 2700 BC, the Chinese Emperor Shenyang said to discover healing properties of marijuana. In 1500 BC, the earliest written reference to medical marijuana in Chinese pharmacopoeia, the use of cannabis for purposes of healing, predates recorded history. The earliest written reference is found in the 15th century BC by the Chinese pharmacopoeia, the Raya. In 1450 BC, the book of Exodus references holy anointing oil made from cannabis. If you're Christian, that's a curious one for you. In 1213 BC, Egyptians used cannabis for glaucoma, inflammation, and enemas. I don't know about you, but how did they give an enema back at that time? Makes me wonder, but I don't want to dwell too deep because it just sounds like it gets really dirty real fast. Anyways, back on with it. 1000 BC, bang, a drink of cannabis and milk is used in India as an anesthetic. Generally mixed with milk, is used as an anesthetic and anti-inflammatic in India. Sorry if I messed up the word, doctors, but you'll be all right with it. In 700 BC, the medical use of marijuana in the Middle East recorded in the Vendad, Persian prophet and philosopher, gave his sources. The Vendad, one of the volumes of the Zen Avesta, the ancient Persian religious text written around the 7th century BC, purportedly by Zoroaster or Zoroaster, the founder of Zoroastrianism, and heavily influenced by the Vedas, mentioning bang and the list of cannabis as the most important of 10,000 medicinal plants. In 600 BC, Indian medicine treaties cannabis for as a cure of leprosy. I don't know about you with leprosy, but hey, if it works, use it. In 200 BC, medical cannabis used in ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, cannabis is used as a remedy for earaches, edema, and inflation. Earaches makes me wonder how they used to give it to you. In 1 AD, the ancient Chinese text recommends marijuana for more than 100 ailments. The Chinese ideogram for marijuana, ma, in compendium of drug recipes compiled in 1 AD based on traditions from the time of Shennong, marijuana is depicted as an ideogram of plants drying in a shed. This ancient text recommends marijuana for more than 100 ailments, including gout, rheumatism, malaria, and absent-mindedness. Hey, I thought that's what it did. I didn't think it solved it. Anyways, we're going to keep going. 30 AD, Jesus allegedly uses anointing oil made with cannabis. Now, I don't know about you, but hey, if it works, use it. We're going to keep moving down. 70 AD, Roman medical text. Cities cites cannabis to treat earaches and suppress sexual longing. I don't know about you. I wouldn't have been in the military back then, because... Anyways, 79 AD, Pliny the Elder writes about medical properties of the cannabis plant. Pliny the Elder, Pliny, sorry if I messed up your name, dude. You're dead, don't worry about it. An ancient Roman nobleman, scientist and historian, and the author of Naturalis Historia, writes that the root boiled in water eases cramped joints, gout too, and similar violent pain. 200 AD, Chinese surgeon Hu Tu uses cannabis resin and wine as an anesthetic. 900 AD to 800 AD to 900 AD, cannabis used for medicine, an Arabic word by some labeled a lethal poison by others. Cannabis was used medicinally across the Arabic world in Roman times, applied to a wide variety of ailments from migraines to syphilis, and as an nostalgic, I messed that up, sorry docs, and anesthetic. This great 9th century Islamic physician, Razaz, prescribed it widely, a contemporary to the Arab physician Ibn Washinya, warned that the potential effects of hashish, which he wrote, was a lethal poison. I haven't seen many deaths of hashish, but I could be wrong. It could have been a lot different back then. In 1500, Muslim doctors used marijuana to reduce sexuality. After the 1500s, once Islam spread to India, Muslims doctors used Persian theories to guide their uses of cannabis. Their applications tended to stress the late effects rather than the early ones, so they used it, for instance, as a means of reducing sexuality other than increasing it. 1538, hemp, used during the Middle Ages. Hemp was central to any herbalist medicine cabinet. William Turner, the naturalist, considered the first English botanist, praises in it his new herbal. 1578, Chinese medical text describes medical uses for marijuana. Let's get down to a little bit of America now. From 1611 to 1762, Jamestown settlers bring marijuana to North America. It finally got here in the 1600s. The Jamestown settlers brought the marijuana plant, commonly known as hemp, to North America in 1611, and throughout the colonial period, hemp fiber was an important export. Indeed, in 1762, Virginia awarded bounties for hemp culture and manufacture and imposed penalties on those who did not produce it. We're going to take a commercial break. We're going to be back in a few minutes. I'd like to say thanks for watching Pot School. Enjoy. We're back. Thanks for watching. I hope you got yourself a heck of a little history lesson there. That's a lot of information in a short amount of time. If you don't believe me, Google it. It's where I got all my information from. I'm Special Ed, and you're watching Pot School. You can see us on Facebook, on Google+, definitely on YouTube. Be sure to check out all the episodes and everything involved with that. And last but not least, you can find us here at Denver Open Media, streaming live on Comcast Channel 56. Now, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I am running the whole show from this iPad right here. Now, I have my partner in crime in the control room, and he's helping me out, making sure everything runs fine. But, hey, he's going to be on TV in a minute. You'll be sure to see Scoop with our news break. Now, back to the show. Okay, where were we? We were on 1621 AD. Popular English mental health book recommends cannabis to treat depression. Now, that's one I believe. Let's read that a little. Oxford scholar Robert Burton suggests that cannabis as a treatment for depression in his influential and still popular 1621 book, The Anatomy of Melancholy. If you haven't heard of that, you might want to take a read with it. In 1652, herbalist Nicholas Culpeper writes about the medical uses for hemp. The great British herbalist wrote in his book, The English Physician, that hemp extract alleviates inflammations in the head, eases pains of gout, knots in the joints, the pains in sinews and the hips. Culpeper's preparation probably had little psychoactivity, as native cannabis grown in northern latitudes has relatively low tetrahydrocannabinol. In other words, they're saying they used it more as a medicine than they did for smoking and ingesting and any other things like that. So obviously, cannabis had a wide range of uses, not just smoking. People used it for a lot of medicinal purposes. Now on to the good stuff. We're getting to America and the presidents. 1745 to 1775, George Washington allegedly grows hemp. In his diary entries indicate that he grew hemp at Mount Vernon, his plantation, for about 30 years. According to his agricultural ledgers, he had a particular interest in medicinal use of cannabis, and several of his diary entries indicate that indeed he was growing cannabis with high tetrahydrocannabinol content. Marijuana, the true version. Hey, that's one president. As far as I knew from my readings in history, the first 5 presidents used to smoke and share. Back with it, 1744 to 1824. Thomas Jefferson grows hemp at Monticello. He did grow hemp, as noted in his farming diaries, from 1774 to 1824, but there is no evidence that suggests that Jefferson was a habitual smoker of hemp, tobacco, or any other substance. Some have pointed supposed reference in Jefferson's farm books separating male and female plants as evidence that he was cultivating it for purposes of recreational smoking. No such references exist in Jeffco's farm book or any other document, although George Washington did record such thing in his own diary. Those guys were close friends, by the way, in case you didn't know. 1799, Napoleon's force bring marijuana from Egypt to France. Now we're talking about Napoleon. He invades Egypt with forces that include scientific expedition teams. In addition, discovering the Rosetta Stone, the team brings back cannabis to France in 1799. Cannabis was investigated for its pain-relieving and sedative effects in Europe and became more widely accepted in Western medicine. 1840, marijuana comes to the United Kingdom. Let's keep scrolling down. We don't have a lot of time. I'm trying to get us up to date. 1840, marijuana becomes mainstream medicine in the West. In the 19th century, marijuana emerged as a mainstream medicine in the West. Studies in the 1840s by a French doctor by the name of Jacques-Joseph Moreau, a French psychiatrist, found that marijuana suppressed headaches, increased appetites, and aided in people being able to sleep. I find all those very true statements to this day. In 1850, marijuana was added to the U.S. pharmacopoeia. By 1850, marijuana made its way in the United States in the pharmacopoeia, prescriptions, and over-the-counter medicines, which listed marijuana as a treatment for numerous afflictions, including neuralgia, tetanus, typhus, chlorea, rabies, dysentery, alcoholism, opiate addiction, anthrax, leprosy, incontinence, gout, convulsive disorders, tonsillitis, insanity, excessive menstrual bleeding, urethane breathing, and among others. I tell you, there's a lot of things this plant does. If you don't believe me, it's all right here. We're going to keep scrolling down. In about a minute, we're going to go to a commercial, and I'll try and get a little closer to modern day times and what's going on with it. But right now, back 1893 to 1894, Indian Hemp Commission mentioned several medical uses of cannabis. Concerned about cannabis as an intoxicant leads the government of India to establish the Indian Hemp Commission of 1893 to 1894 to examine the question of cannabis use in India. The report mentions the use of cannabis as an analgesic, as a restorer of energy, and a hemostat in ecbolic, and an antidiuretic, that means anti-pooper. Cannabis is also mentioned as an aid in treating hay fever, chlorea, dysentery, gonorrhea, diabetes, impotence, urinary incontinence, swelling of testicles, granulation of open sores, and chronic ulcers. Other beneficial effects attributed to cannabis are prevention of insomnia and a relief of anxiety, protection against chlorea, alleviation of hunger, and as an aid to the concentration of attention. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in just a minute. Thanks for watching. We're back. I'm Special Ed, and you can find us here, Pot School on Facebook. We're on Google+. You can definitely find us on YouTube. Check out all the videos. And right now, we are live on Comcast Cable, streaming in Denver Open Media Studio B. I'm Special Ed, your host, and you're watching Pot School. We're getting back to our show now because there's a lot of history here, and we're trying to get there fast because I only have an hour on this show, and I'm almost a half hour into it. On with the show. In 1900 to 1949, Cannabis is used for asthma, bronchitis, and loss of appetite in South Asia. 1906, Pure Food and Drug Act requires the labeling of medicine, including cannabis. We're going to keep scrolling down real quick and get a little bit closer to modern day times. In 1911, Massachusetts becomes the first state to outlaw cannabis. Here we go. The problems start happening. 1915, President Wilson signs the Harrison Act, the model for future drug regulation and legislation. Here's where it starts. All the problems. If you don't believe me, I'm telling you, this thing has had a lot of problems just because people want to make money off of it. Now, they made it illegal because, hey, they had other textiles in use at the time. Why use cannabis? And not to mention, companies like DuPont were first coming out with paint and other types of textiles. And so the last thing they wanted to do is have somebody else infringing on their product that they're making. Obviously, you can make cannabis paint, believe it or not. Anyways, 1915 to 1927, 10 states passed marijuana prohibition laws. You know where that starts everything going? Downhill fast. 1918, U.S. pharmaceutical farm grows 60,000 pounds of cannabis annually. February 19th, 1925, the League of Nations signed multilateral treaty restricting cannabis use to scientific and medicinal only, or in this case, medical. 1928, cannabis is added to the UK's Dangerous Drugs Act. Dangerous drug, yeah, right. 1930, the use of marijuana increases in the U.S. I'm going to read this for you. The currency of the world increased greatly in the United States in the 1930s. In context of the debate over the use of the drug, the term being preferred as a more exotic alternative to the familiar words hemp and cannabis. Marijuana was an exotic word. Cool. I'm totally with exotic words. 1930, the American pharmaceutical firm sells extract of marijuana as medicines. 1930, Harry J. Alslinger appointed to the Commission of Federal Bureau of Narcotics. This is when it starts getting really bad. 1933, William Randolph Hearst plays the role in denouncing marijuana. 1936, Bureau of Narcotics urges federal action and control of marijuana. 1936, new medications supplement marijuana for treatment in pain. 1936, one of my favorites, Reefer Madness film, Cautious Against Marijuana. If you haven't seen Reefer Madness, get yourself a copy and check it out, because that tells you from the point of governments and states how they were trying to control the public and misinform them at the same time. So, by all means, be a judge of that movie. Tell me what you think. May 4th, 1937, the American Medical Association opposes the proposed Marijuana Tax Act and supports research on medical cannabis. We're going to keep scrolling down here. 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act leads to decline of marijuana prescriptions. They made it hard for everybody to get the drug. So, in that case, of course it's going to decline, especially if our government is trying to regulate this product. On with the history. October 2nd, 1937, first marijuana seller convicted under federal U.S. law is arrested. 1938, prohibits cannabis, Canadian... I'm having a problem with my words today. In 1938, Canada prohibits cannabis cultivation. 1942, marijuana is removed from the U.S. pharmacopoeia. Obviously, somebody didn't want us using it. 1938 to 1944, the LaGuardia report concludes that marijuana is less dangerous than commonly thought. 1951, Boggs Act establishes minimum prison sentences for simple possessions. 1956, inclusions of Marijuana and Narcotics Control Act leads to stricter penalties for marijuana possession. 1961, the UN Convention provides a basis for future federal prohibition of marijuana. Everybody's ganging up on us now. You hear that? I'm just reading history. 1964, THC, main psychoactive component of cannabis, first identified and synthesized. If you don't know what the name of that is, it's called Marinol. 1968, the University of Mississippi becomes the official grower of marijuana for federal government. April 8th, 1968, President Johnson creates a Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. November 1st, 1968, reports find cannabis is less dangerous than alcohol and other drugs. I'm going to read this real quick, and then we're going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to give you the news with Scoop. So, the November 1st, 1968 Wooden Report, written by the UK's Government Advisory Committee on Drug Dependence, finds that the long-term consumption of cannabis in moderate doses has no harmful effects. Cannabis is less dangerous than opiates, amphetamines, and barbiturates, also less dangerous than alcohol. The report's influence is seen in future British drug policies that reduce the penalties of marijuana by 50%. They started trying to tell us that marijuana wasn't bad, but the government already had everybody programmed believing that it was. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm just giving you history of what's happening about this plant. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, you're going to get the news with Scoop. Let me switch my camera here and go to the next commercial. And bye-bye.
Smoke, man.
Yeah, man.
I got new tires on the car. How about we go for a ride?
I would like to go for a ride. I have not been riding for 2 sacks of ganja, man. Quick,
to the ganja mobile.
not, man. You hit another alien hitchhiker. That was the second one this week, man.
Quick, man. Help me get him out from under my car, please.
Okay, boy. Man, you're crazy, man. Why are you hitting these cars, man? Every time I hit you, my hitchhikers, man.
From the mountains to the valleys to the skyscraper mass of metal and glass, a gracious and dignified what up to you. I'm Scoop Nemeth giving you the what's up on how Colorado did the first year Amendment 64 got passed and what were some problems of pot being made legal. How did Colorado do the first year Amendment 64 got passed? For starters, Governor John Chicken Pooper has made and continues to make an unestimated fortune on rent increases simply because of hyped up real estate values to welcome in the trust fund babies out of state who are nothing less than drug addicted bums. They are not homeless, but according to John Chicken Pooper, the only crime in Colorado worth prosecution is the act of being homeless. Criminals in penthouses are what the governor considers civilized society who are contributing to the economy of Colorado. Chicken Pooper, as of late, according to the Huffington Post article, has been described as a quote-unquote saloon owner. His motto, if the people will have me, this is the professional role as a public servant, not a wedding engagement. His commitment to popularity, not right over wrong. In November 2013, his confirmed estimated wealth was listed by Forbes magazine as $125 million in US dollars. Since Amendment 64 has passed, what's in his and his friends' wallets? Now, on to the problems it had with marijuana being made legal. Marijuana is 5 times as carcinogenic as cigarettes, which can only lead you to believe that cancer rates will increase, healthcare costs will rise, and insurance premiums will go up. It has increased access and audience to crystal meth and crack cocaine in the back alleys of Inglewood. No longer is marijuana being sold in back alleys. Worse, there are people who can't get a job to support their habit. That's why they turn to prostitution. But the number one trouble it has had since marijuana was made legal was rent. Why should we in-state residents have to pay pot prices just to pay rent? I'll tell you why. It's because Chicken Pooper and his real estate friends are exterminating the entire class of in-state residents, including already existing tenants, so that the governor can welcome in weed-smoking trust fund babies from out of state with pot and a shitload of money to burn. He is a Democrat, not Democrat with a T. He is a giant douchebag with a shitload of money than runner-up Bob Beaupre and his Republican Party. And the turd sandwiches could not match the amount of money Chicken Pooper has spent on the campaign for re-election. As for local resident and local activist Lisa Zabarenko at Medusa One, these trust fund baby pot-smoking slackers are henceforth known as the Cannabis Carringtons. You know the Carringtons from Dynasty? Now Cannabis Carringtons. and they are turning those cockroach-infested no-tell motels into Buckingham Palace. As regards to the real estate development, every tier below the penthouse is increasing their rent so the trust fund babies can keep up with the Jonesenses, and the governor's real estate friends can benefit from their misery for profit Amendment 64. On a positive note, grow your own pot, take it to the street, and fuck Amendment 64. And if you want to buy your drugs from a drug dealer, grow some balls. Buy it on the street like real people with balls do, not from some pussy cannabis clinic. The rent is too high, and the cannabis Carringtons are making it higher. That's the scoop about the pot news in Colorado. I'm Scoop Nemeth.
Hello again, everybody. This is the Green Man. We're going to talk about soil today. There's all kinds of different types of soil you can use, but this is generally what I use. Typical garden soil. Nothing special other than totally organic. Works really good. Has a good amount of the nutrients that cannabis plants would need to grow. My manure, instead of using bat guano or worm castings, I use steer manure. Nothing special to it. Looks like your average ordinary dirt, except it smells a little. Next would be my peat moss. Basically it helps the dirt expand, hold moisture in. Has some vitamins and minerals, not as much as you'd think. Real fluffy, light stuff. Helps hold a lot of oxygen in the dirt. Next, everybody should know about this if you've grown cannabis at any time. Perlite. Perlite is a white substance that has absolutely no vitamins or minerals in it and is used mostly to hold water or water with nutrients because of its capability to retain water. Same thing with this stuff. This is vermiculite. Same thing as perlite. Doesn't have any vitamins or minerals in it. Real soft, light, airy stuff. Works real good for helping retain water and oxygen in cannabis plant dirt. A lot of people like to use soilless medias. I prefer not to. I like using soil to start my plants to grow. I found it grows real easy, very rapidly.
Hi, we're back. Hope you enjoyed the news with Scoop. That's what's going on in Colorado. Whether you like the way he says it or not, he actually has a point. On with our show. As you can tell, I brought out the fun stuff, and now it's time. So, right here, I have some pots. As you can tell, I have 6 out of 10 ready. I have a lid. When the time comes, I will flip this over, and I will be covering the plants while they germinate and get ready to grow. I have the pretty seeds of life. I have some mixed dirt. You just saw the video. This is that exact dirt mix. I believe in it thoroughly. Everybody needs a shovel to do their work. When your plants get big enough and start growing, a magnifying glass. This is one of my favorite tools right here. This is a three-way meter. It measures moisture, it measures light content, and it measures the pH of the soil. So if you don't know exactly what's going on, get your meters and test stuff. Make sure you know. Again, right here, if you deal with hydroponics, you obviously know that you need some kind of pH balancing test. Here's another version. I don't like it as much, but it still works. By all means, I use this for dirt more than I would hydroponics because this little guy right here has real good sensitivity. And on with the show real quick. Okay, so make a long story short, everybody knows how to fill up a pot with dirt. I'm just gonna do one or two here real quick, and then I'm gonna let you read a little bit more and watch a little bit more. So right here, here's 1, 2. I'll go as far as I can with the dirt. Let's see how far it takes me. 3, 4. Here's 5. Oh, I might make it to 6. I might not. We're a little short on 6. Yeah, 5 out of 6 ain't a bad thing. Anyways, flatten out all your dirt. Make sure it's good. Ta-da-da-da-da-dum. This dirt is fairly moist, so I won't need to water it for a minute. But my favorite seeds of life. These are all random seeds. They are good quality seeds, and I have just been collecting them over the years. These I got from a buddy. They are supposedly really good, strong stuff. So, real quick I'll just grab one seed, poke a hole in the dirt, throw the seed in, cover it back up. If you have real dry dirt, you want to water it, and you want to water it well the first time around. Now, because I have a bunch of seeds, I always like to pick and choose what I start with. So, we're just gonna put them in there and just pick a couple seeds here and there. I like the dark tiger stripe ones. If you don't know what a dark tiger stripe seed is, I would suggest getting some seeds and checking them out because you just might find something you like. One of my special seeds from my friend Frank. Thanks, Frank. As Frank told me, him and his buddies, these seeds come all the way from Eureka, California. So, let's see what kind of substance we got. And I'm going to wait for the last one because I don't have enough dirt, but it's going to get a special seed. That's how you plant seeds in dirt. Not hard. That's why it's a short part of our segment. But on to another video where you can learn more. I'm glad you're watching Pot School. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go to the next commercial. How about some cannabis dirt? Teach you a little more.
Good afternoon, I am the Green Man. This is a tutorial on dirt. What we have here is various types of dirt we use for cannabis. First being the topsoil. Second being a peat moss. Third being a manure. Fourth being perlite. Fifth being vermiculite. I'm going to combine these together to show you how you make a basic dirt for your cannabis. When we talk about parts in dirt, we are told that we usually want 4 parts of dirt to 1 part of this, 1 part of that. Well, I'm going to break it down for you. In general, we have usually a 4-to-1 to 1 to 1 to 1. In this case, this is my own special recipe. You have a lot of different choices you can use. You can use guano, bat guano in this case. You can use earthworms castings. Those are poop, basically. So, I really don't like the stinky smells when I grow in my little shed, so I just stick with the basics of what I know, and the nutrients do the rest. So right now we're going to mix it together. Usually when they say 4 parts of topsoil, we take our topsoil. We're going to put 4 parts in it. Well, 4 parts can be any size. Right now we're talking about 4 of these little cups. So when they say a 4:1:1 ratio, they want 4 cups of one to one of another and one of another. What I'm doing right now is just filling these up so that I get my 4 parts of dirt, or in this case, organic topsoil, in. This is peat moss. This is going to be a 1 ratio, so 4:1:1:1:1:1. 1 cup of that stuff. This is manure. A lot of people think that, manure is not a good choice. Well, if you use earthworm castings or bat guano, manure is not too much different. 1 of those, perlite, 1 part of perlite, and 1 part of vermiculite. Mix it together really good, however you feel the need. I don't think it hurts to use your hands as long as you wash your hands. Some people don't like it, some don't care, everybody has their opinions. And there you go. Simple, easy, effective way to make dirt for cannabis. One important note that most people overlook is dirt being dry. Now when you get dirt from a store or wherever you get it from, there's always going to be small amounts of moisture in your dirt, chunks that you might not want. So always sift through your dirt, get rid of the big chunks, crunch them down, whatever you need to do. If you have large sticks of wood in there, get rid of them. There's no need for them. They'll just create a space in the dirt that will eventually get crushed and decompose. And your choice. You can leave them in or take them out, whatever you like. Most importantly though, is when your dirt can squeeze together and hold a form, it's too wet. Wet dirt promotes microbes, aphids, mites, and they're attracted to the dirt as well, because fresh new dirt is like a great media for insects and aphids, mites to thrive in. So one important note, always make sure your dirt is dry before you use it to grow your cannabis in.
We're back, and we're coming to the end of our show. I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to hear back from you. Comments, rebuttals, whatever you have, I'd like to hear it. Just so I know somebody's watching. I'm Special Ed. I'm your host. This is Pot School. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Google+. You can definitely find us on YouTube and watch these videos you saw during this episode. And you can find us live on Comcast, Channel 56, Wednesday nights at 6:30. There's 10 episodes for this whole season. The replay will be played every other week. I'd like to thank you for watching. Here's another video clip for you, and have a good night.
Hello again, this is the Green Man. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to plant some seeds. These are my precious little commodities. And in this blue tub I have my dirt that's been drying for over 9 months. So as you can tell, once you see, it looks like it's wet now. That's only because it's winter time. I've moistened it up a little after a good dry out season. First thing I do is I load my little bag up. And as you can tell, I have here a bunch of examples for you to see. And of these examples, what you're seeing is, you're seeing just a plastic bag on a pot. Nothing too fancy, nothing special. But out of all these plants, only one is not growing. Possibly two. This guy got a little bit of a mound right here. You can see that. He got a little bit of a mound. And it looks like a plant is about to come out. So you know they're sprouting when you get a little mound right in the middle of where you're growing. As you can tell with this guy, no mound, nothing. Looks like it might be a dead seed. Now, as you look at these other plants, you wonder why I have them covered with plastic baggies. Well, this is how I incubate my plants, because their size, how many I'm allowed to grow, and the relative ease in which these plastic bags help these plants germinate and incubate. I started growing these guys on Wednesday, January 19th, and already, as you can tell, it's only 3 days later, and they're growing very well, very well. What I'm going to do here is I got my dirt, I mixed it all together. Now I'm going to plant the seed. There's nothing special to this trick. Just create a little hole like that. Nothing too deep, just a knuckle deep. Grab yourself your seed. In this case, I'm going to go for my mystery package here of seeds. Just take one seed and pop it in the dirt. Cover the dirt up. Put the plastic bag on it and give it a day or two before you water it. Normally, if you have very dry dirt, you want to give it a little bit of water when you first plant it, but because this dirt's already been taken care of, there's moisture in the dirt, and I don't have to worry about watering it for the next day or 3.
What happened to you? I ain't trying to be rude. I'm just saying, like, wow, you hurt.